Ma'am, we are allowing the participants.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you can start, ma'am.
Great afternoon, everyone. I once again invite the keynote speaker and all the participants to the post-lunch session. We hope that this session will be more interactive. I amicably welcome Mr. Praveen Singh to commence the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen.
1 second, sir. 1 second.
Yes, yes,
Okay, sir. Now you can share.
yes, yes.
Okay, sir. It is visible.
Yeah. So, shall we start or we need to wait?
You can start, sir. No problem.
Okay, then. Yeah. So, once you develop your model, how you are going to evaluate your model. So, here we go for evaluation. So, if your model is regression, then you have to look into these few parameters. You can say like you have to look into coefficient of determination, which is nothing but the r square. How exactly r square is being calculated, you can see I have kept in my slides. Now you have to even calculate mean absolute percentage error. So these are the mathematical terms which you do actually, you just have a look what exactly it is going behind, because everything is being done on Python. Means you just need to call map function, that's it. So even for RMSE, you need to just call one function. So it's not like means just you need to know what is behind, what is behind in that function, how exactly it is getting computed. So these things you need to aware about actually. So same way mean squared error is also there. So these are the things which you always keep in mind when you are dealing with regression model. So to evaluate your model. For classification, you have to always build confusion matrix, and from confusion matrix you can derive accuracy. Accuracy is nothing but the trans means a true positive plus true negative. You can say true positive is here, true negative is here. Okay. Now, sorry, true positive is here, true negative is here. So these two, sum of these two divided by all four. Now, what is precision? Precision is your true positive. True positive is this divided by true positive plus false positive. So these things. Same way, recall is nothing but your true positive. So instead of going to false positive, you have to now take division with the false positive, false negative. Now same way you have to calculate f1 square. So don't worry about it. Accuracy, precision. This is I'm gonna cover in next whatever means like my case studies there. Okay. Now sometimes it happens like you were unable to decide through your confusion matrix, means whether your model is good or your model is bad. At that time you need to rely on, not only you need to rely on confusion matrix, then you have to look into some alternative. Alternative is nothing but the area under the curve, the ROC curve. So it always says like how much area are you covering. Okay. So if it covers like this, that means that model is your good. So you can see here ROC it is written 0.79. So here that is 0.79. If it is 0.95 something like that, it will go like this. Okay. So this is the one of the measure you can say like which we generally use for evaluating our classification model. Yeah, let me talk about some machine learning tools. Machine learning cloud platform, no means like Rajesh will cover on when he is going to take in cloud. So he will cover about Amazon Web Services, how exactly it works, and Google Cloud, how exactly that works. There are some couple of tools which I wanted to show you regarding machine learning tools, as we are doing machine learning session. So pandas, as I already told you, and I have given brief. We will cover Apache Spark as well for tomorrow session. Okay. And then you can see like Keras is there, Cassandra is there, scikit-learn is there. These are the library, these are the companies you can say which are providing us a machine learning tool so that we can do whatever we wanted to do with data. Okay. Now let us move on to the next slide. Let me just give you a overfitting. What is overfitting? Why it is coming? Regularization, hyperparameter tuning. So overfitting, it's a phenomena in machine learning when the model gets too complex or when we are unable to generalize our model. Okay, so when it happens, generally it happens when we keep on adding variables. Then what happens? Model may become far too complex because we are adding all the variables and it is getting messy, you know. So though model is getting complex, and if it is getting complex, then you are unable to generalize it. So you know what exactly the consequences of that? It may end up memorizing the training data, and consequently you can say it will fail to generalize. So model is generally said to overfit when the training accuracy is high while the test accuracy is very low. So you can say like you have given all the input data to your model, all the everything. Model is very good and it is giving perfectly 90% accuracy in training data. But when it comes to the test data, you're testing and your model is giving hardly 40, 50, 60% accuracy. That means this is the situation which we call it as a overfit. Okay. Now, what is regularization? A technique used to reduce overfitting by reducing a penalty that punishes the ML algorithm while letting the parameter get too large, complicated. Okay. So we are using regularizing to reduce our overfitting problem. Okay. How exactly we are going to use it in our case study. So don't worry about it. Now, just I wanted to make you familiar with these terms so that you will means remind always like means this is what Praveen and Rajesh has talked about. Now, what is hyperparameter? So hyperparameter are which are associated with the learning algorithm. We can introduce regularization into an algorithm with the help of hyperparameter. So hyperparameter actually it takes the you can say parameter as an input. Means like where you have mentioned like which type of parameter are you using. So sometimes ridge you can mention it ridge. Maybe a lasso you can mention it as a lasso. So means where you can specify by your own parameter, or maybe you can say like it has large amount of parameter which you can pass by your own. Maybe you wanted to do cross validation for 5-fold, maybe you wanted to cross validation for 10-fold or whatever. Means it depends on the means like the situation. So that is where means you have to keep in mind like there is a hyperparameter where you have to specify it. Now, hyperparameter tuning and optimization. So finding the best candidate values for hyperparameter which generalize the model for better accuracy. So here, when you do means you are passing your hyperparameter, maybe you can say like you are passing some variables. Now, out of that, you need to get some value which is good for your model. So in Python, in pandas, you will get there is a separate method for it. Maybe you will get different value, and that value you have to fix it, and that value will do everything. Okay, so that the value which comes out as a best after so many iterations, that is called as best candidate value for hyperparameter. Okay, and that value is being used for generalizing the model. We will show you that as well. Now let us just have a look about bias variance trade-off, which is also very important because this is where means you need to actually look how exactly this is happening. So it is assumption that algorithm makes about the structure of the data. It can also be specified as the average approximation error that the model have over all of possible training data sets. Now, bias is that. Now, what is variance? Variance we have from the beginning onwards we are learning variance. So variance is the sensitivity of the result on a particular set of points. Now, two cases always arises, and that is why I was talking about overfit. So overfit occurs when you have low bias. Low bias means here, and high variance. So high variance means here. So you are having low bias but high variance. High variance means your data is means like you are giving all the inputs everywhere. You can say you are training with all possible inputs. Okay, but assumption which you have taken about the data it is just sticked with the training data only, and that is why you are getting very low accuracy when you are testing. Okay, when you are doing the same stuff with test data. So this is what the problem you can say, where this is the place where overfitting comes. Now, high bias. That means high bias and low variance means this is the place, means underfitting means you are training it with very minimum amount of data. Okay, that means it is not able to give, suppose you are coming up with test data, it is not able to predict correctly. So that is where it requires more training. Maybe you can say like your model is at that time is underfitting. Okay, it is not capable of giving the output because of what? Because of less training. Okay, now as I mentioned in one of the my statement, where cross validation we generally do. So cross validation we do how? So you have, suppose you have whole entire data. Now I am doing train and test split, which I have showed in my previous case study. So we generally do train and test set, and one of the faculty have asked the same questions, how exactly you do validation. So now from the train data, I am just keeping few percent of that. Means suppose I am having train data of around 80%. Out of that 10%, I am just keeping it up for a validation. Now, suppose my model 1 is there, model 2 is there, model, and let's say we have n number of models. Now, I just wanted to get the error, all the error which I am getting from every model. I am just keeping that error and I'm picking based on the average value of the error which model is best suits for us. Okay, so this is where the cross validation plays a role. Okay, now different type of cross validation technique which I have mentioned here. It's a one is K4, where you have to mention your number of Ks you wanted to fold, and then leave one out CV. Leave one out CV is nothing but it's like means like it will first it will leave one cross validation, and then it will perform with four. Let's say you have five set. Let's say you have five set. Out of that, one is pending. One is for test. Let's say now one you have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now first it will do on one, and then leave all four as it is. Then second iteration it will take two and leave 1, 3, 4, 5 as it is. Then second time it will take 3 and then it will do 1, 2, 4, 5. Likewise, it does the validation. Okay. Now, when we talk about hyperparameter tuning, we must look into grid search. So it is the simplest of the hyperparameter optimization technique, you can say. Now we specify the grid of values, okay, where hyperparameter of hyperparameter you can say model are built on each of the given values using cross validation. Okay, and the best parameter combination is selected, the output will be the model using the best combination of the grid. So you just need to call grid search CV. So there is a method called grid search CV. I will show you that as well. Grid search CV. Now in grid search CV, you have to just pass parameters, hyperparameters. Once you pass that hyperparameters, it runs. It gives, it come up with one of the best parameter. Now manually you have to pass that best parameter to the model, and from that parameter your model will give better accuracy. But the drawback is there, the user must supply the list of values of the parameter that may or may not contain the most optimal value. That's what I said. You have to take that value and you have to pass that value to the parameter. Okay, that it may be or may not be the optimal value, most optimal value. Sometimes it happens like means you are running your automatic job and then you are getting some optimal value, and then you are passing that optimal value to the model. Maybe you are at that time you may not get best optimal value, or maybe you can say you may not get best accuracy. Now another one is randomized search optimization, which is I would say like this is widely being used. Now randomized search parameter search is a modification of the traditional grid search, which I have talked about. It takes input for the grid element as in normal grid, but it can take distribution as an input, and we control the number of times we wanted to do random parameter. by specifying the number of iteration we wanted to. Okay, there is a just not a much difference, but minute difference. I will tell you what exactly that minute difference is. Normally, a higher number of iteration means a more granular parameter search, but higher computation time. Now, in grid search, the iteration is quite limited. Here, the iteration you can say like number of times you wanted to do this random parameter you wanted to do, you can specify by it. So you can correlate this with random forest, you can say. The way random forest work, you can think about in that perspective. Maybe you can project yourself with that. Okay. Though it is a quite, I must say it's a quite computationally expensive because, it keep on iterating so many times, like for almost all the parameter which is passed in a hyperparameter. Okay. Now, let us talk about ensemble modeling. What is ensemble? What is it actually? So you wanted to create multiple models for the same task, as one of the faculty has asked this question, and then combining the result into single value through a weighted or non-weighted method. Okay, what kind of method can be used in ensemble? This is one of the questions. So I must say any kind of method. Now, what are the different type of ensembles? You might have heard bagging, boosting, stacking. These are the different type of ensembles. Now, most popular modeling technique in ensemble had a boost, gradient boost machine, extreme gradient boosting, bagging, random forest, rotation forest. These are the things. Now, gradient descent is what? Gradient descent is an optimization algorithm that optimizes the objective function, cost function for linear regression to reach the optimal solution. So when, sorry, I have mentioned this here. I actually wanted to highlight there also, but I forgot to highlight. But when we were trying to say like we need to optimize the objective function, we were using what we were at that time we were using OLS. Now here we are, if we will use gradient function, then it will definitely reach to an optimal solution. So it's the best technique which we can say best optimization algorithm which generally is being used in linear regression. Now let us one by one quickly look what exactly the random forest. So it's an advanced version of bagging along with feature randomization. Okay. Now what is bagging? Always it means like you that see my flow of the slide is always like it's a questionnaire. Means I in the beginning I said like you have to keep on asking your questions, okay, so that you will get more clarity on the topic. Now, what is random forest? As I said, it's an advanced version of bagging along with feature randomization. So it is already doing bagging. Along with that, we are doing feature randomization as well. Now, what is bagging? It's an ensemble of decision tree with bootstrapping. Now, I know you guys are quite aware about bootstrapping, but if you're not aware about, then you have to keep on digging that bootstrap. Now it's an ensemble of decision tree, so it has multiple decision tree. You can see out of that multiple decision tree, it is keep on assigning the weight, and out of that, which one is having better accuracy, or you can say like better weight, that comes as a better means you can say means that will give you a better result. Now what can we do with random forest? So as I mentioned here, predictive modeling for classification and and regression, both you can do. So what is different in random forest? So what makes it differ from other techniques? So as I said, a random forest is a more robust in generalization and regularization because it is taking almost all the decision trees. Out of that, it is assigning the weight and then giving you the best. Okay, so first of all, by doing this, it means it's a less prone to overfit. Okay, because it would be quite easy to generalize because it's a more robust, as I said, and it's less prone to outlier. Now, relatively easier in tweaking and tuning the model. I means I will show you, if possible, time permits, I will show you how exactly you need to tune your model. Okay. Now, XGBoost, you might have heard like Kaggle people most of the time they used to use if they wanted to solve any problem, they try to use XGBoost. So I will tell you, because of its parallel processing feature, and they're trying to use this. So it is one of the most well-performing large-scale scalable machine learning algorithm, you can say, which is developed on the principle of boosting in ensemble modeling. Okay. Now, again, what is boosting? The process of building an ensemble of models sequentially where each new model learns from the residue of the previous model. That means residue is what your error terms. Okay, so whatever the new model comes, it will always learn from the previous error, what all previous error has came. So if you do something, you suppose you are building, means like you have opened your some shop. Now in shop people used to come. Now if people used to shop in your whatever the shop you have opened, you just write one feedback form and give it to them. For each customer you just provide the feedback form. Now they keep on giving their feedback. What you will do, means today suppose two feedback form you have got. Now with that feedback form, maybe they have said like AC is not working fine in your store, or maybe they are saying like you should keep more means like storage, or maybe you can get more milk, or maybe bread, something like that. Now on the very next day, what will you do? You will overcome that problem. So that overcome problem means your AC must have functioning very well, and you have means like you have stock of bread and milk in a more way, you can say. Now this is the sequentially, and next day another people will come and they will give some other feedback. This is how sequentially your model will learn from the previous whatever the error was there, or maybe you can say residues were there. Okay. Now what we can do with XG boosting? So as I said, like it's a means you can do classification and regression both in XGBoost. So yeah, people means even you have a question like why XGBoost? Why we need XGBoost? So as I said, even in random forest you can control the overfit by using regularization, but XGBoost it is a parallel processing technique, you can say. So it do means like when you have a highly computationally job you are running, maybe your data is very you know uh, you can say like your data is huge, then you try to solve using this XGBoost, because everything runs on a parallel manner. Okay. Now, so before going to surprise project, it's what is the time? Okay. Now let me give you one of the case study walkthrough. If I will give you the case study walkthrough, then we will quickly move on to the another surprise project. Now let me share you the case study. Okay. Yeah, let me know first. Let me ask how many people want first case study and then surprise project. Please raise your hand. I can see you guys. You want me to go through case study, or you want me to go through the surprise project? Please raise your hand by clicking on the button. Guys, I'm not able to see anyone is raising their hand. Okay, Ramakrishna sir, thank you so much. So you want me to go to case study? So please write it here. How many will want a case study or? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeshwant
This is
sir.
Ramakrishna.
Yes, sir. Hi, sir. What do you want, sir? Case study? Okay. Case studies. Okay, great. Case study. Great. So yeah. Okay. So by most of the volunteer means they want case study. So it's better we'll go for case study. Okay, Naga Durga sir, thank you so much. Okay, everyone is raising their hand for case study. Now, so first you need to understand the problem. What is problem and how exactly we need to solve the problem. Now, first problem is It's a lead scoring case study. Now here, what is the problem? I'll show you. An education company named eMantra Education sells online courses to industry professionals. Okay. Now, on any given day, many professionals who are interested in the course land on their website and browse for courses. Okay. The company market its course on several websites and search engines like Google. Maybe they are marketing like means everywhere, you can say. Now, once these people land on the website, they might browse the course or fill up a form of the course or watch some videos. Now, when these people fill a form providing the email address and phone number, they are classified to be a lead. Okay, understood? These are the lead, means who are trying to make a call, or maybe who are just providing their email address. Now, moreover, the company also gets lead through the past referral. Maybe they have a referral scheme, they are giving this to the past referral. Once these leads are acquired, employees from the sales team start making calls. Now, writing emails through this through this process, some of the leads get converted while most do not. Means people who have provided their email ID and contact number. So company acquired few of the employee, you can say sales team, and they said like you keep on calling them, and if let's see means how many people are getting converted. Now, typical lead conversion rate is 30%. Means like 100 people have given their mail ID and phone number. Out of that, only 30% have converted to our e-course. Now, although eMantra education gets a lot of leads, its lead conversion rate is very poor, because out of 100 you are just getting 30%. That means your lead conversion rate is very poor. For example, if say they require 100 leads in a day, only about 30 of them converted. So it's a poor problem, you can say. Now, leads in a day only about 30. To make this process more efficient, the company wishes to identify the most potential leads, also known as hot leads. Okay. Now, if they successfully identify this set of leads, the lead conversion rate should go up, and sales team will now focusing more on communicating with the potential leads. Ultimately, they want the hot leads who are actually willing to take their course. Now, lot of leads generated in the initial stage, you can say, but only few of them come out of a paying customer from the bottom. So in the middle stage, you need to nurture the potential leads as well. That is educating the leads about product, constantly communicating, etc. in order to get a high return. Now, what it wants, Mantra Education has appointed you to help to select the most promising leads. That is the leads that are most likely to convert into paying customers. Okay, the company requires you to build a model wherein you need to assign a lead score to each of the leads, such that customer with higher lead score have a higher conversion chance, and the customer with lower lead score have a lower conversion chance. The CEO in particular has given a ballpark of the target lead conversion rate. So ultimately, this is what your case study. So what I guess you guys have might have understood like what exactly they want. They want to get everything. Lead conversion rate should be 80% instead of 30%. Earlier it was 30%. Now CEO want it has to be 80%. So that means you have to target only those leads which are potential to convert. Now, so here I have just mentioned like what is the goal of case study. You need to build a logistic regression model to assign a lead score between 0 to 100 to each of the lead, which can be used the company to target potential leads. A higher score would mean that the lead is hot. Okay. Suppose somebody is getting 95, that means lead is hot. It is most likely to convert, whereas the lower means that it's a cold and will mostly it is not going to convert. There are some more problems presented by the company which your model should be able to adjust to if the company's requirement change on the future. So you will need to handle these as well. Now this problem should be separate of file. Now what I want anyway means I don't want from you guys, but I will show you the PPT which need to be presented to the CEO and how exactly it looks like. Now The basic and first step is you need to import these libraries. As from the beginning I keep on saying, like pandas, numpy, sklearn, matplotlib, these are the basic libraries, okay, which you will use later on this program or maybe this case study. Now I just wanted to display a maximum number of columns and rows, you can say. Now, just for the feature scaling, I'm just importing these things like SQL and processing and standard from standard scalar. You can say train test split from to use model selection and all. So these are the basic prerequisite, you can say, like means I know like these library are gonna use, so that is why I kept in the beginning. But as uh, we will move on, we will tell you which library is important where. So now this is what means, like it's a directory just to get like where my data set is present. So yeah, my data set is present like leads.csv. Okay. Now you first need to read this CSV and convert into a data frame. So leads is our data frame. So convert it into pd.read CSV. That's it. Now let's look into the shape of the data frame. So shape of the data frame, you just need to write lead.shape. So it has 9,240 rows and 37 columns. So if you wanted to look into columns, so lead.columns you can write. You will see prospect ID, lead number, lead origin, lead source, do not email, do not call, converted, total visits, total time spent on website, page views per visit, last activity, country, specialization, how did you hear about our education, what is your current occupation, what matter most to you in choose course, search, magazine, newspaper, what is e-mantra, education forum, newspaper, digital, advertisement, through recommendations, receive more updates about our course tag, lead quality, what is an update. These are the many, you can say, like columns which are present in the data. Now just I wanted to look data type in the data frame. Now I just wanted to look how many are integers, how many are categories, how many are floats. You can see like integer values are like lead number and then converted. Okay, then you can say like these are the float, total visits is a float, and then page views per visit is also float. These are the just wanted to identify the column, which type of which data type is of that column. Now I have got that. Now as in the beginning I said, like you need to perform leads info to get like same thing, means like as means how many entries are there and how many columns are there. Once you got that, then you need to just describe to get mean, minimum, maximum and standard deviation value to know, like means why we are doing this stuff, because you need to get very much familiar with your data, the data which you are currently dealing with. So that is why I am saying, like you need to do this kind of stuff so that you will know your entire data in and out. Now minimum values for lead number is this, maximum value is the number of days, and then you can say 50% is like this, you can say like this here. So here you can see 50% values are like 3. So you and maximum is 250, and that means here outliers is present, you can see. So that is why, so if you keep on working on data, you will simply means by looking at these kind of thing, you will easily understand like this is one outlier present. Now same way here also you can see like minimum value is 0 and maximum 50% value is like this. Now maximum value is what? Maximum value is 936. So here also you can say like this is also one kind of outlier, because you can say 75% having 9936 and 258 is minimum, means like 50% values are 258. So it is the kind of outlier which is not actually expected, because if you will look into the mean, which is quite 487, which is nothing but you can see like almost equal to it has to be almost here, means near to 248 or maybe it's in and around 250, but our this is getting more 487. Why? Because of this outlier. So this means this is how you need to interpret your data actually. Once you do that, so here I can say like then the columns with numerical values are automatically printed. So these are the numerical values. Okay, now first we need to check the null values present in our data frame. Okay, so that you can just deal with the null values, or if we have some missing values, or so you just need to use your data frame dot is null dot sum. So you just wanted to do how many nulls are there, all null having sum and divided by a number of you can say rows, so that it will give you the percentage of that. Now keep on doing this, you will get, see here country having some 26% null, tags have lead quality is having 51% null values. Okay, now this having lead profile having 29 45% is also here. So this is how you identify how many null values are. Now you can see I have mentioned here there are a lot of columns with null or missing values. So while performing EDA on the column, the missing value will be treated as required. So we have to treat those missing values. Okay. If there means like you can say like null value might be more than 95% somewhere, maybe in some column, then I might have dropped that column from here itself. But that is not the case. So now what I'm doing is from the above there are select value which is equivalent to null values. Okay. Now converting select in each column to null values. Okay. Wherever null values are there in select column. So first you can see here. So what I'm trying to do here, wherever I'm finding the null values, I'm just replacing with select so that I can easily identify. Okay. And it will replace your null values. Now checking null values now. Now again you check null values again after converting the select to null values in the data frame. Okay. Then what you are going to do? Here what I have performed, you do you means you guys are means like have a look or not. So this is nothing but there is another column. See, you might have seen like a drop down column. In drop down you must have first row select, and then rest is like whatever you wanted to solve. So I have seen like there are multiple places where select is being occurred. Now if select is being ordered, you have to replace it with a null so that my null value will increase. So you can see here null value is already increased because select is also one kind of means like you can say garbage value. So I am just converting it to a null so that means it will next time it will just I am able to figure it out. So you can see now the null value is getting increased here. Okay, I have sorted it this in ascending order, you can see. So those who have more null values, we have to deal with it. Now you can I have mentioned here there is a significant increase in the null values in the column like lead profile, city, and how did you hear about X education. Now what I am assuming here, it depends on you, like see, I'm assuming here if I have more than 70% of null values, then I am just dropping that column. And it depends on your knowledge, means whether it column is quite useful or not. So let's see, I have written here dropping column greater than 70% missing value. So I have this column and lead profile. These both are having more than 70% missing value. So I'm just dropping. I'm not keeping along with that. Otherwise, it may lead to bad accuracy. My model will lead to bad accuracy. So now let us move on further. Now let's see what all numerical values. So these are the numerical variables. Means I'm just looking into total visit, total time spent on website, and page views per website. So these I have mentioned here. Now analyze this column. These many columns you need to analyze it. So asymmetric activity index and all. So these are the column which I am just mentioning here. See. So do you see these are the some sort of category is being why it is 0 to medium, 0 1 high. Instead of this, it might have medium medium and high high high. So it would be better for us to deal with it. Now I must say, I must say, let's look into the categorical variable. So now I am looking into categorical variable. Now these are the list which I got it from category variables. So as I showed you the means at the very beginning, all the variables or which type. So I'm just keeping aside category. I'm just wanted to display all the category variables here. So these are the category variables. So you can see like NaN values are there in category also here also. Now let's see, figure it out what all the binary variables are present in our data set. So we have total 37 number of columns. So out of 37, we have to have some binary, there may be some categorical, there may be some numerical. So we need to know, we need to understand all how exactly our data is. Okay. So yeah, so I have listed out here all the binary variables which has value yes or no. Okay. Now it's time to check our prospect ID whether it has a unique or not. So shape of the data frame is as I said in the beginning. Though column shape earlier it was 37 and we have dropped two columns because those two columns are having more than 75 70% missing value. So now it is becoming 35 columns. Now unique count of leads based on the lead number are 9240, you can say. These many leads are there. Now inference, there are no duplicate value in the data frame. As I had checked through this, if there is prospect IDs multiple times, then there might be duplicacy of the data. But here there is no duplicacy. Now let us check the various yes or no binary categorical variables. So I have checked here. What now? As I said in the beginning, you have to keep on looking one variable at once. Means like that univariate kind of analysis you need to perform. So I am doing from here onwards. I am just doing that part. Now I just wanted to know what is the summary. Okay, I just wanted to know summary of the do not email attribute. So this is what the so it has three type of value: unique, top, frequency. Now unique is 2, top is no, frequent is 8506. Now same way, I just wanted to know how many different type of values are presented do not email. So do not email is the binary. So here it is mentioned like no or yes. So how many are no? It's 8506. And how many are yes? It's just 700. So inference is here majority of the value belongs to category no. You can see most of the category belongs to no. So this is how you need to identify the thing. Okay. Now, once you move on to the next, what is inference now? Sorry, inference I already covered. Now I am just looking at the lead do not call. Okay. Suppose do not call. How many types of values it contains? So do not call has unique, top, frequency. Again. Now unique to okay, top is no, frequency is big. This one. Now you can see here, sorry, do not call has two types of value, no and yes. No has 9238 and yes has 2. And this is nothing but I am just printing summary. Summary is nothing but the total count. How many of total count? It has 9240 of count where unique has 2 and top has no and frequency has 9238. Means it has 9238 and 2. Only two values means total 9240. So out of that no is 9238 and 4 yes is 2. Now same way I'm just printing first describe. Describe is describing your actual column. So it will describe like how many unique values are there. Okay, whether it has a top value or not, lead having top or not, it is saying no. And then unique values are there. What is the frequency of that? So here you can say like when I am printing here as a value count, so I am getting two values. So no is 9226 and yes is 14. So majority of the values belong to category no. This column is not significant. So as you can see like here, okay. most of the columns belongs to no. So you can say column significance, you can see from here also it is not that much significance. Same way I have performed to the magazine column, and here also I can say that this particular column also can be dropped. Why it is means we need to drop? Because magazine has only one type of value. Okay, only one type of value. So it will not contribute for you to identify leads yes or no. So it doesn't have, because it has only one type of value. So it is not leading to the means like for your model, means like you can say like it is not actually useful, so you can drop here. So here I mentioned all the values belongs to category no only. This column can be dropped from the data frame, so we can drop that. This way I have done the analysis for almost all the columns. Same way I'm just moving on with the next, because this step you need to perform for almost all the columns. So based on the above analysis, I am dropping these are the columns, which is you can say like those are not significant. Okay. So by just looking into the type of values, or maybe you can say like by looking into how many types of values are present, you can drop those columns. So as I said, we are just figure it out. These are the column which is not actually useful. So I have just written this in a one of the list, which is delete columns, and just dropping this from our what is that, from our data frame, leads data frame. So you have to just mention it like lead drop delete columns. So delete column is nothing but, and x is equal to 1, if is equal to 1. Sorry, true. So now, so after dropping columns leads, as it will not add any values in our modeling, let us look into the how exactly our prospect ID and lead is. So just you need to run these things so that you will come to know. Now dropping all the lead number, as it will not add any value in our modeling. So I am just deleting lead number. I am deleting because it will not add any value to our model. And I'm deleting prospect ID because it is also just to identify uniquely, means like leads. That's it. It doesn't do anything with the model. Now I'm just writing one function which will display the unique category variables and do not scatter and do a scatter plot to understand their relationship. Now, if you quickly move on to this, you will see here. See, so these are the converted and page views per visit. Now total visit, page views per visit. Now total spent on the website and page views per visit. So I'm just trying to visualize you guys, like you can draw it. So you can say total time spent on the website, which is then these are quite scattered along. Now you can see like yeah, the total is time spent on the website. This one is also quite scattered towards the y-axis. Yeah, same way. So this is how you need to perform. That's it. You don't need to. Now here I have just to figure it out one more thing, like how many things are like, means like you can say like lead are converted. So here 0 and 1. Okay. So now you can say like most of the time 1 is for converted, 0 is for not converted. You can see here from API, the API leads are not, most of the leads are not converted. Now from submission you can see like most of the leads are not converted. From ad form you can see like very few are, means like very few are you can say like not converted, but most of them are converted. So this is the lead origin, you can say, from where actually you are getting leads. So I am getting lead from ad, I am getting lead for means like different ads, and maybe landing page submission, or maybe through API. Now once you got that, just plot unique. So how many values are present in converted and how many values are present in not converted. So just I am plotting it with the do not call. Okay, the do not call is one of the, you know that do not call is one of the attribute. Now same way I have just plotted this plot to get means like to visualize it, whether means we are able to identify something or not. Let me just go through more. Now here I have written there are 21 unique values, so it is better to combine the smaller ones to category others. Okay, so now I am just moving into lead source. So in lead source, you can see I'm getting so many lead from Google. I'm getting so many lead from direct traffic, from Ola chat, from organic search, from references. These are the lead, you can say, source from where actually we are getting lead for our eMantra classes. Now, in lead source, let's look, we need to replace what? So these are the things I'm just wanted to replace it with. Means like if see, there are multiple places where you can see like it is written Google. So you need to replace with Google, capital G or maybe small g, so that it doesn't make much difference on it. Okay. Now again, we keep on moving with this because these are the steps which is fine. So here last activity in leads, last activity email opened, how many emails are being opened. So it means suppose you are sending email to the different various users. So now how many emails are opened means how many emails you have sent it to these many emails. Now SMS sent, how many SMS have you sent? Now how many conversation chat you have sent it. So these are the way like we are able to find it out like what all the last activity we have performed in a lead. Okay. Now you need to plot last activity. I have plotted last activity. This is one of the column. So as I said in the beginning, 70% of the work is just to do EDA part. So I am just keep on doing EDA part. You can say here, I have seen like null values are present. Like if it is a null value, then what exactly we need to do? I'm just placing whatever, wherever I will find null values, I'm just placing it's a sum. Okay. No. I'm just here. What I am trying to do is, I just wanted to know like how many places the null values I can see. Okay. Now, whenever the specialization not available, there are chances that it is not available in the list of choices. Okay. So there are some, data engineering part which I am trying to do here. I'm filling with others. If there is any specialization is empty or maybe is blank, so I'm just filling with others. So you keep on doing these things. So let us. Why I'm showing this case study, because this is not a simple case study. It's just you need to perform EDA very well. So here blank will be imputed by converting will revert after reading the mail, something like that. Means I'm just wherever I am finding some blank or maybe not, maybe you can say null value. So I'm just writing it as will revert after reading the mail in a tag field, so that I can remove some of the missing values. So here I am just dealing with the missing values, you can see. Now here also you can see like null values are present and you are just placing with a sum. And if there is a means the missing values of a category, then you are placing it with a, you're filling it with a not sure. Though I have already done a lot of data visualization and activity, so I'm pretty much aware about in which variables we need to fill what. Now let us quickly move on to the next. Because as I said, like means you need to perform lot many things because it has 35 number of columns. Now let us, how exactly we need to do outlier treatment. So first of all, you need to plot box. You need to plot a box plot. So in the beginning, I said like you how you will identify box. Oh, sorry, outlier. So that is how, see, outliers are there. This doesn't have any outlier. Here the one outlier I can see here. Okay. So this is how you just need to write one of the function box plot, and just you have to mention like what for what exactly you are trying to box plot. So I'm doing this box plot for total visits, total time spent on the website, and pages views per visit. So I have seen like these many outliers. Now again in box plot, if you wanted to means like define something for quantile, and maybe you wanted some 5% quantile or maybe 95 percentile, you can do some modification on that, which I have done it now. Now, after doing all the messaging and everything, you can see here, I am getting in my data frame only, means like you can say like there is no null value now, because I have tried to remove all the null values. If there is a null value, I am trying to means like insert some other values, or maybe I am trying to insert with the mean. Okay, if there is a numerical attribute, then I'm trying to fill it with the mean value. So now, once you have zero null value, then only you can go for your further processing. Now converting binary variable to 1 and 0, just write one binary function, make it a binary map. Then I am just mapping wherever I will see yes, I am converting it to 1. Wherever I see no, I am converting it to 0. Okay, applying this function to the data frame means everywhere it is being applied, and now you are getting this. It would be quite easy for you to evaluate that. Now after everything, you can see we had earlier 9,350 or maybe 9,000, more than 9,000 rows. Now we are coming up with only 8,391, and earlier we had more than 35 columns. Now we have left with 15 columns. Now our data is getting more curated, you can say. Now here I am doing I'm trying to do some one hot encoded thing, means creating dummy features for these values. Okay, so you just need, if you wanted to do you create dummy values, then you just need to call ed.getDummies, and for which you wanted to give dummy, you wanted to create dummy values. So I just wanted to create dummy values for lead origin, lead source, converted, total visit, and all. So these are the means various, you can say, attributes where I need to perform. I need to get what is that dummy values, because all the values are having three different types. So to get dummies values of n, we need n minus 1 of values. So yeah, here you can say like earlier it was a page visited on website. Okay, now email opened you can say. So yeah, now here our dummy value is being created. So this is the dummy value, you can say. So lead origin landing page submission, lead source Facebook, lead source Google. Earlier you have seen like we have a lead source is another means like lead source is a column name, and we had values like Facebook, Google, and Olag chat and something like that. Now I have converted this to the dummy values. Now it is becoming lead source as in Facebook, lead source as in Google, and we have some value. How many lead source through the Facebook, how many lead source through the Olag chart, something like that. Now here you have to drop the one for which you have already created dummy values. Let's keep on moving this. Now we are after this, I can see, I just wanted to know like there should not be any category of variables. If there is categorical variant, then we would have some problem here. Why? You would not be able to perform logistic regression. Okay, now we are not having any categorical column, so we are good to go for model building. So for model building, I'm just creating one of the copy. Okay, and just dropping the converted, because this is our output variables. Now why, though we have to get output variable as in y, so here I am doing TN test, which is 70 and 30%. Now feature scaling, I have done that standard scalar feature scaling for these are the attribute. Scalar fit transformation for these are the attributes, because their value is quite different, because you can see like These values are quite different. Okay, so total time spent on the website is 674.1532, which is quite different than these values. So I just wanted to do standardization. Okay, so I have done that standardization. Now you can see even in total spend time, or page views per visit. These are the different values, because most of the values are, you can see, like 0 or 1 or maybe something like that. But these three values, I can see it's a quite different, and it doesn't look good for me. So I'm just making sure like it has to be synchronized with these values. So I'm just standardizing these values. Okay, so that is why I have done this. Now I have converted everything. Now you can see, as the data has 38% conversion rate, checking the conversion rate is important. In this case, we have about 30% of conversion. This is neither exactly balanced nor heavily imbalanced. So we can see we do not have any special treatment for this data. I'm just checking here whether my data is balanced or it is imbalanced. So that if it is imbalanced, then we need to perform another few techniques. Means like we need to again sit and we need to think about our data. Now, in logistic regression, first we need to perform, how are you going to call sm.glm, then you have to call train, and then this, as I said, like you have to add constant on it. So you are just adding constant on the train, and then which families it is a binomial family, because you know logistic regression is for binomial. Now, so I have gotten these kind of values through generalized model. Yeah, you can refer that. You have to look into what you have to look into. Few more things which I have already told you. You need to look 3-4 things. So you need to look coefficient. You need to look p-value. If it is a p-value greater than 0.05, then you have to reject that. And in the same way, you have to proceed. So we have lot many columns. So now we have to deal with each one column. You need to look into that. Now I'm just going further. Yeah, so yeah, I haven't taught you about feature selection using recursive feature elimination technique. So this is the one of the best, you can say, method for feature selection. What it does is it will take your whatever the feature you wanted to put, it will come up with the best features. Means suppose you have 15 features. Out of 15 features, you don't have means 15 out of 15 you do not use 15. Maybe you have just 5 features which are quite important, and rest are just duplicate, or maybe rest you are thinking like they are not actually useful. Okay, I don't know, people are still listening to me or not, or I myself talking to myself. Guys, are you there or not? Means just wave your hand, because just now I realized like I keep on talking to myself. Sorry, yeah, please raise, at least 1 or 2 people can raise a hand or write on your means like message box. Are you guys listening to me or not? Yes, sir. Wow, great. Thank you so much, yeah. Thanks. At least somebody is listening. I'm happy. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much. Good. Anyway, so now feature selection using recursive feature elimination. This is the technique which I was talking about. If you have 15 variables, then there may be a chance like out of 15 variables, you may not be able to use all 15. Okay, now, so how will you know like which feature are important? So as I said in the beginning, there are multiple parameters you need to look into. P-value, you need to look into coefficient, that you can do, but that is the manual effort. Means you have to keep on looking into each variable and each coefficient of that, and then p-value. If it is fine, then okay, otherwise you have to eliminate. So I am just here explaining about RFE, which is nothing but the recursive feature elimination technique. Okay, now here you just need to call logistic regression and RFE. Here just I am passing 15. Suppose you have more than 35, you can say like you have more than 35 columns. Now I need 15 variables as in my output. or maybe you can write it for 20 variables as in my output. So it will give you only 20 attributes with the rank. With the rank means which feature is important for your model development, of which feature is important for your this, okay, logistic regression. So it will give you rfe.support. As I have run this, I have got rfe.support. It will give you true where it is quite important, and rest it is false. It is going to be make it as a false. So it will give you top 15 attribute which are important, you can say. So here I am just listing it out. Yeah, you can see here it is giving you the rank as well. So I am just printing here ranking. So this rank, this attribute is quite important or not. So RFE support, it is a true or false. So it is a false. If it is a true, you can look into the true part. So this is the true. Lead source Waylink's website is a 1. Okay. Now another true you can look. Wherever the true you can find the rank as well. True and rank. So that means, see, these many columns are with us. So I'm not going to do one by one to run everything. So these many columns are there. Now here I have just mentioned 5 attributes. So I said lead source linking website, I have pointed it out, that has true as well as rank has 1. So here you can say last notable activity SMS sent, true and 1. This is also one of the important features. So let me find it out here. Lead notable activity SMS. See. So all the measures here I have written that all are falling into true and rank, has some rank. So let me search you another one. Yeah, lead quality worst. So this one, lead quality worst must be here. Lead quality worst. I'm not able to see. I'm not sure. Yeah, this one. Yeah. See. So it has true and rank is 1. So that is how it is identifying lead quality not sure. So not sure is also, yeah, see, not sure. So this is how you can easily, out of these many features, you can say more than 70-80 features, whatever, out of these many features, you can just get important feature. Instead of doing manually, you can just run RFE, you will get important features, and this will also give you a better result. Now keep on going. I'm making sure like you guys are quite familiar with this. Now you need to assess the model with the stats model. One of the you can say like technique in available in means Python. You can say Python toolkit. Now you need to look this as usual, which I said like summary. I have talked about this means like how exactly you need to look at the stats and p-value and coefficient of this. So here you need to look coefficient and p-value. Now furthermore, if you will go keep on going, dropping column, this tag literal, why I am dropping, see what I am performing. Now we got these many attributes. Now out of this, if you will find like there are some attribute which is not important still, so you have to look into p values. So here if you will see all the p values are quite low, okay, but here the p value is 1. So highest the p value has, first target to drop it, no need to further continue. So I am just dropping this column, tag literal students. I'm dropping this column. So now after this, what is going to be? Again, I am going to print some. Yes. Again, I'm going to summary. I have printed now. Now again, look p-value, whose p-value is greater than 0.05. These two. So tag invalid number and tag number provided. So tag invalid number you have to drop it. Or tag number not provided you can drop it. So out of these two you can drop anyone. But please keep in mind, don't start writing like these are the p values which are quite more, means like greater than 0.05. So I should keep another value here and I should drop. No, it is not going to work, because you have to do one by one. Because you suppose you drop this, your p value may change for the another attribute. So that is why we always drop one by one. We don't try to drop in the beginning. Suppose you got in the beginning like there are 3 columns which has p values more, I should drop all the 3 columns. No, you shouldn't. Okay, so this is how you need to perform. Let's drop it, and then again I have built the same model. Then now let's look into p value. So now you can see here tag invalid number. Here the by luck chance you can say like this value is not getting changed anyway. I'm dropping it. I've dropped that. Now after this you can see all the p values are less than 0.05. So I can assure you my model is quite good. Okay. So now what next step we need to perform here? We need to predict the variables using whatever the training set is there. Now I'm just predicting some of the values here. I have just plotted here what all value I need to predict. You got this. Now let's see. Here I am trying to do what is converted probability and what is corresponding means ID. Though you do have, remember I have dropped this prospect ID from the data frame. Now I have just bring it up this from the Y-train index values. Okay, so now I am bringing prospect ID and converted into probability. Now what is actual? So this is the actual values. What is the converted probability? This is the converted probability. So you can see here, if it is earlier it was actual value is 1, but probability is 0.89. You can see. So that is how you can correlate the one which you have predicted is pretty much very good, because you are able to predict 89% this particular lead will take, and we have predicted 89%, and which is also, if actual value you will look, that is 1. Same way this 89 we have predicted 89, which is actual value is 1, which is quite near to 1 you can say, and rest of the values are having 0 in actual values, but we have predicted 0.2, which is you can say like pretty much close to 0. So we are on the right track. Okay, now Y-train predict Y-train final converted map lambda greater than 0.05. So I am just what I am trying to do, you are not able to correlate this easily. Now what I am doing, if the probability is greater than 0.5, then I am converting into 1, and if the probability is less than 0.5, I am converting it to 0, so that you will easily correlate. Now you can see here, this probability is getting 1, this one is getting 0, this one is getting 0, and this one is getting 1. Now you can see your actual value is 10001, and now predicted one is 100. You are predicting almost equal. So I can say our model is quite good. How the accuracy, what accuracy our model of accuracy? It's a 91% our accuracy, or maybe you can say 92% of accuracy. So you just need to call accuracy score here. Okay, now I have even talked about VIF. VIF is for what? You have to look into VIF for what? For knowing your what? I don't know whether you guys are remembering this. For knowing your variables, actually, for knowing your attributes. So you can say VIF value is less than 0.5, sorry, less than 5. As I said, heuristic which I am approaching is, if the VIF value is greater than 10, that is not acceptable attribute. If the VIF is value is quite near to 5, then we can think of it. But if its value VIF value is less than 5, then means that is acceptable. So all the features I can see here, no values are nearing to 5. So you can say VIF are in acceptable range. Now I just plotted the correlation matrix plot just to see, means like now everything is being highly correlated or not. So you can see like more the darker it's a 0.46 and all. So you just need to just do some more analysis. That's it. It's not going to. Now just before this case study, I was just talk about you the confusion matrix. So this is how you need to build your confusion matrix. So matrix beyond accuracy, you can say like TP. True positive is what 1 1. True negative is your 0 0. False positive is your 0 1. False negative is your 0. Sorry, it is 0 0. No. False negative I'm saying. So it's a 1 0. Yeah. So false negative is the 1 0. Now, so sensitivity is, as I said, it's a TP divided by our TP plus FN. So we are getting 85%. Specificity we are getting 95%. This is how we are calculating rest of the measures. Now, in the beginning, I said like means you have to plot ROC also, so that you can easily say how much we are covering through ROC. So though where our accuracy is 91%, so let's see means it is covering 91% or not. Yeah, you can see here. It is covering more than 0.95%, which is quite high. Almost it is covering almost all the regions. So it entire goal has to cover this entire region. So ideally it will cover entire thing, which is a very rare case. But yeah, it is covering most of the things. You can say it's a 0.95. So look, we are dealing with 9,000, more than 9,000 rows and more than 35 or 37 columns were there. And out of that, even we are taking 15 features and we are able to predict everything. How many attributes I thought like those are redundant or maybe not useful. That I used to say like you from area in your you have to perform. That is why in our industry also 70 to 80% of our work is being done on EDA part. Even we focus a lot more to do EDA. Okay, percent is for model build. What is the predicted value and all, that's it. So you can say like there are some other measures which I just wanted to print for you guys so that you will know what is accuracy, where is accuracy. So accuracy is like this. Okay, now what is sensitivity? Sensitivity is like this. So here you can see like these are the plots just we have plotted to know like means there are more many things you can do. Now the next part which I have asked like to assign lead score. We have to assign lead score from 1 to 100. Okay, so I am assigning that. So I am just assigning with round with that. Whatever I have predicted, I am just assigning with it. Okay, so multiplying by 100. So this is the way you have given it is final predicted, and then you are assigning this. So lead score is just assigning like 90 is for this one and 21 is for this one. You can say like it's a just whatever the probability is there, you are just multiplying with the 100. Now again, just precision and recall. What is precision and recall? It is mentioned and all. That's it. I guess we are done with it. Yeah. So this is how we have done our case study. Now it's time to tell the feature importance. So I must say what all features are important you need to tell. You need to report that. So I am just reporting these are the features which are important. I am just getting the feature important. So these tags closed by horizon. This is the 100% feature importance. Means like tag lost by innes. So I have mentioned here the features which are quite important for generating the leads. Okay. If we will just look into these features only, we will get good enough lead. Okay. So that's all from for the case study which I showed. Now it's time for you to look how exactly you need to prepare your presentation to show your CO, sir, how exactly our data is behaving and which lead score is generating more or better. So let me share you the presentation. So guys, are you able to see my this slide lead case study? Yeah. Now, so as I said, you need to perform bivariate analysis, univariate analysis. Okay, before moving to this, let me ask if people having some doubt. How much time, guys, we have right now? I don't have a clock right away, but yeah, we have time. Yeah, it's not at all a problem. So, yeah, guys, if you have still any doubt, please let me know. Okay, Rajesh, are you there? Hello, Rajesh. Okay, anyway, guys, please raise your hand, and if you wanted to ask question on a chat, please let me know. So I'm giving a pause because it's been almost 1.5 hours. I'm still keep on telling you guys. Yeah, please, sir Dinesh sir, can you unmute her?
Yes, I'm here, Rajesh
Yeah,
here.
thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you, Rajesh. Yeah, so Dinesh sir, can you please unmute Jyoti? She has raised her
Yeah.
hand.
1 second, sir. 1 second.
Yeah.
Jyoti Ranik.
Your session is very nice. It is awesome. But I have very much new weak in Python.
Okay.
So I need to know that how it develop Python programming in my knowledge.
Okay, so don't worry. And though, see, in the beginning only, I have just taken the means in beginning 3 days before this
Huh?
particular sessions. I have taken 3 days session, another 3 days session, you can say, for this college, same college. So now means like there, I have showed them a basic things. Now I know like if you are a bit weak in Python, it would be quite difficult for you. But I am trying my best to tell you each line how exactly it is and what is going to be. So if you wanted to do something on your Python on means like in
Yes.
coding, then you
Okay.
start learning that Python, because see, even for means for industry I used to take workshop for Python also. So I keep on organizing their
Okay.
Python workshops so for them, like for 7 days or maybe for 8-10 days, like that. So there I used to cover entire Python concept from the beginning: data types, functions, method, how exactly it is being called, and what all means different type of fields are there, and how exactly it is quite related to data science. So that is a different kind of session, which here I just wanted to know, like means like people have asked me to arrange this is advanced session, means to arrange as in one advanced session. So I thought like
Yes.
for advanced session
Yes.
I don't need to cover the basic, but even for that I am always keeping in mind, whenever wherever I'll go, I always keep in my mind like there are multiple people who are basic means from the very basic background, you can say, means that they need
Yes.
to know entire thing from the beginning. So that is why in the beginning of my first day I have just gone through the some data type of Python, some functions, some different operations which are performed here. So even in case study, while giving you walkthrough of the case study, I was just telling which function does what. Okay, it might be
Okay.
much simple, I know, but still you will be able to easily correlate your things with that. Okay, so don't worry about it. If you please,
Mobile.
if you really wanted me to give some session on Python, please let me know. My mail ID is with you. You keep that mail ID. I will arrange a Python session for you. Don't worry. Okay.
Yeah, while the session is being arranged, I just wanted to let you know, madam, that one of the easiest uh, way to learn Python is to do whatever you have in one of the books just pick up any book on Python and start from A, that is from the ground up, and you learn Python very fast. And about data science, you have to really go ahead and do from the grounds up. If you don't do from the grounds up, then doing this case study may be difficult. So that is why I suggest that you, and once you do that, it will become very easy for you.
So next question, please, guys, raise your hand because we have time to take up questions, and then we will have this entire presentation, whatever, for how exactly you need to prepare your slides for presenting your case study. So please, guys, please raise your voice, please, means because 1.5 hours I keep on giving walking through a case study and giving entire lectures from 3, you can say from 2 o'clock onwards. So I just want, if you have some doubt, please. Yeah, Ramakrishna Gandhi sir, please. Sir, can you unmute him so that he can ask?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am
Yes.
unmuting you.
Yes, sir. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So this is
sir.
Ramakrishna.
Good
Sir,
evening.
actually, I want to know about to do more practical oriented sections, and
Mhm.
also parallelly want the books. Any books are there for practically
There are
practice?
Ramakrishna sir, there are multiple books. So even
Okay, okay.
yeah. So I would say, means separately I will maybe mail you about those books, but
Sure.
because the problem is like what we do, we nowadays what we have multiple books in our hand. So
Okay.
I keep on reading any books, means based on like means whichever I feel like I need to read it. So means I cannot comment which book is good, and if you want really I can give you some 5 to 10 list of books, you can go through with that book. Okay,
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Through mail. Thank you, sir.
thank you so much.
Yeah, just go to Google and say Python. Python, you will find a good book, and you will find some refer any good book. That should be good enough. And you, first of all, install Python on your laptop, and then practice the exercises. Then that is the way that you will learn Python, and also do the exercises which are there of data science.
Yeah, please, thank you so much, Rajesh. Yeah, next question, please. Guys, please keep on asking questions, because if you have some doubt, please let me know. So don't think it's a silly question, or maybe it's a very basic question. So don't think in that way. Means whatever comes in your mind, please let us know. Okay, so if you guys don't have question, so if you still have any question, please let us know in group chat. Okay, we'll try to respond you as soon as possible. Let us move further. Okay, so as I said, like you need to prepare your slides in such a way that so that your boss or maybe your means company founder can see, like, and he can easily say like, okay, this is how. So like first you need to means show some bivariate analysis. What is the bivariate analysis? It is lead origin. So here, as I mentioned, like landing page submission and API are the most important lead origin types. So here you can see in the very right side, landing page submission, okay, and API are the very most important lead origin type, followed by lead at form. So you can see here. So people are saying they are not able to see my slides. How come? Rajesh, are you able to see my slides? Rajesh.
Sir, just share once again, sir. I am able to see your screen, sir. No, not a problem for me.
Then somebody is pinging like they are not able to see my screen. Anyway, means Dinesh sir, can you able to see bivariate analysis lead origin?
I am. It is visible, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
And
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then fine.
it is visual.
Yeah. Okay then. Then this is what first of all you need to show in this manner. Okay. You need to perform some analysis and then you have to show. Then even for last activities, this bivariate analysis I have performed for lead origin. Okay. Now next I have performed for last activity. So last activity is SMS sent is the major activity for the lead conversion. So here you can say SMS sent. Here one is having more peak. Okay, one is having more peak. That means this is the major, or maybe you can say the highest conversion rate here is for SMS sent, and then email open. Okay, so this is how you need to tell them, sir. If we will send SMS, people will respond more. If we will send email, people respond more. Maybe the people who respond SMS and email, the people who open our email, they are the one who are doing a conversion. Okay. Now again, I have performed for lead source. So here tags also I have performed for bivariate analysis for the tags. So here you can say like will revert after reading the email is the one with the highest conversion rate. So I am just referring to the right side, the one which is highest, the one like one which is in you can say like it's a pink color. No, it is not pink. It's an orange color. Yeah, or purple you can say. Now hereby I have performed the same bivariate analysis for lead quality. So I am doing bivariate analysis for almost all the attributes. Okay. So here you can say like might be and high in relevance have the highest conversion rates followed by the low in relevance and not sure. So here done some bivariate analysis for asymmetric profile and activity index and score. You can see here. So here, what observation have you seen? You have seen like asymmetric activity score can be derived from activity asymmetric index, and asymmetric profile score can be derived from asymmetric profile index. Okay. So that is why we are dropping asymmetric activity score and asymmetric profile score, because this asymmetric activity score can be derived from where? Asymmetric activity score can be derived from asymmetric profile index. Okay. Now asymmetric activity score, this can be derived from asymmetric index, means either we can take this, either we can take this, but this is quite confusing, so better to go with this. So we will take this asymmetric activity index, and instead of going with profile score we can take this. So handling missing values, as I have showed, like we have handled missing values. Now we have handled missing values using median for these continuous variable, total visits, page visits per visit. We have handled missing values using mode for the country, means categorical variables. We have used mode. Now handling null and select values. We are not means we earlier we thought like we will delete, but we have not deleted few columns which are having more number of null select values, so we may lose important information. That is what the main consideration which you always keep in mind, like if we will delete this, we may lose some important information. That is why I haven't deleted these values. Okay. Now let us create a new category while dealing with categorical attribute unknown, other, not sure. These I have created other categories. So here you can say like as I'm getting, people are means having a higher conversion even in not sure. It's not higher, but still they have some conversion rate, even though they are coming in the category of not sure. So handling null values, which I have already showed you, we have come up with the 8953 values out of 9240. We have handled properly boolean values as well. And now missing value assumption is also like anything above 70% we have deleted, means we have dropped it, and anything below 2% missing value in a column correspondence rows are dropped assumption. Okay, so considering these are the things which we have assumed. So you have to always mention these things, what assumption you are going to take, what assumption you are is while building model you have taken. Okay. So now final data set after missing value treatment. So this is what the data set which we have got without any missing values. So now outlier analysis which we have already performed. Now data preparation, dummy value calculation we have done it. So this is what categorical variable check we have done it. Model building steps we have done it. What steps? Train, test, split, feature scaling using standard scaler I have told you. VFE we have done. Okay, it's not VFE, it's RFE. Checking conversion rate we have seen like how exactly the checking conversion rate is. It is now 37.56%. Okay, so 38, so you can say here 38% conversion rate. Checking the conversion is important. In this case we have just about 38% conversion rate. This is neither exactly balanced nor heavily imbalanced, so we will not have to do any special treatment for this data set, otherwise we might have to deal with imbalanced data set. So we have done logistic regression, we have done RFE output, and these are the feature elimination. So these are the following variables we have eliminated manually based on p-values, which we have done manually. Confusion matrix and overall accuracy we have shown you. Feature variables and respective VIF. So which we have already covered that. So these things, why I'm showing you these things, you have to keep in your slide, in your presentation while presenting to someone. So yeah. So here our latest model have the following features. All variable we have this one. All the features we have very low VI value, which means hardly any multicollinearity among the features. We can also see the same in heat map. Overall accuracy of the model is 0.92, which is acceptable range. ROC curve we have seen like 95% almost. This is what we have shown. So now, yeah. So our insight and recommendation, what we can give to the CEO. Sir, top 3 variables in our model which contribute most towards the probability of lead getting converted are as tags, lead source, lead quality. And top 3 categorical dummy variable in our model which gets maximum concentration in order to increase the probability of a lead conversion are as tag. Closed by horizon, lost by ENS will revert after reading the mail. So this is how you can show there, means like your whatever case study you have done. Now let us start further our slides. So now guys, let us move into how you will approach if you will get any case study. Now again, I'm going to show you one of the project use case and how you will define your problem statement, how business solution blueprint development, explore and define the machine learning use case, and exploratory data analysis, how you need to perform. Okay, so let us move and let us have a look into it. Now, so here I'm going to give you these things, what exactly it is. Now you have a problem called, it's one of the another use case you can say. So every machine learning project belongs to a larger story that follows the data science way. It all starts with a question. So from the beginning, as I said, like you have to keep asking questions. Okay, so now what follows by why? Okay, now and culminates into when. So what now what? Okay, so what now what? There is where machine learning is a touch based. Now you have a CEO for a major one of the bank, you can say, and it is asking what happened. Our profit has reduced by 30%. Our cash liquidity down by 20%. Sir, fraud transaction increased by 5%. Operational expenses are getting more. So he will say, this is what he used to see, why it is happening. So you will come up with, sir, I know why it happen. Maybe the customer investment of customer reduced, maybe campaign conversion which we are doing might be low, operational expenses increased might be. Okay, so we have to look into when, no, what, so what. So we need to target the right customer, we need to improve our campaign. So this is how you can say description. In the left side you can say what happened to the descriptive, and then inquisitive, why did it happen, we can say. Then it is next is when. So here predictive and prospective. Okay, so this is where means like we need to now everything has happened, now what we need to do. So we need to target the right customer and we need to improve our campaign. Now, so here that how we define the problem statement. Now profit of our bank has plummeted by 35%, cash liquidity has been declining, and operational expenses have been increasing year on year. Okay. Now, banks would like to study the major reason of the crisis. So you need to figure it out. The major factor that contributed toward the declining of profit are not known. You know that. Okay. Now, what are the key factors that led to the financial crisis? How they actually impact the crisis? What action would circumvent the impact of these factors? Okay. So now XYZ. So this is what where means you have to give your situation, complication, and question. Now XYZ bank understand the various reasons that resulted in declining profit and the overall crisis. The team has a robust framework to counteract and resolve the crisis. So now here you have to take a and you have to come up with the solution. So the blueprint which generally we do in a bank and we do in our place is like we just define problem statement in previous slide which I have showed you. Then we have to do factor mapping, means we have to brainstorm, we have to do brainstorming to our team. Okay, who all are one means like working under me or maybe under many people, we have to do brainstorm. Now we have to design hypothesis driven matrix, and once you design that hypothesis driven matrix, then you have to do data acquisition, you have to perform EDA, you have to perform hypothesis testing. Once you do that, you have to assimilate the insights, define key actions item, and then you have to go with key action items as in increase of bank, develop machine learning product, reduce XYZ, that means strategic alignment, improve CSAT, hire and build a team for the task. Okay, this is how you will make business solution blueprint. Now let's talk about factor mapping and hypothesis driven matrix. So now first in this way you might have come up with all your important or maybe you can say key factor to the financial crisis. So what are the key factors that led to the financial crisis to the bank? There may be more fraud transactions. There may be some news like brand is getting effective because of India-China war, or maybe sorry, India-China some conversation, or maybe there is a means like some miscommunication between some brand, or maybe they have means like they have exposed their customers a name or maybe their money. So maybe brand effectiveness, maybe market campaigning is not good, maybe customer is getting churned, there may be customer services are not good for means like maybe one of the bank is not their customer services is not good, maybe like there are multiple factors. Now let's say customer churn. So hypothesis you will define how. Higher customer churn has resulted in declining profit. So this is what the hypothesis you will come up with when the factor is customer churn. Now, macroeconomic factors, maybe due to Brexit or maybe due to GST in India, has resulted in declining profits. Maybe. Now, because of customer service, what is the hypothesis you will come up with? Poor customer service has resulted in customer attrition and hence declining profit. So this is how you come up with hypothesis and factor. Okay. Now, as I said, these are having same statement, means like same use case. You can say you have to identify problem, you have to gather data, then you have to perform ADA, build features, build machine learning algorithms, maybe models, then you have to productionize your solution. So as I said here, the problem statement, I'm not going to talk about again what is the problem statement, but yeah, you can see here a leading banking giant has seen declining profit and you have to develop something so that it can overcome the problem. Okay. Now you need to perform exploratory data analysis and feature engineering the way I taught you in the very first day. How you need to perform feature engineering, what exactly you need to perform on ADA. Okay. Now you have to take approach for model development. Which model is gonna use? Maybe logistic regression, maybe some other model, maybe classification regression, maybe something, maybe linear regression will work, whatever it all you have to decide there. Now evolution, you have to do the evolution to various parameter which I have told you, like to you have to perform maybe ROC, you have to look into the confusion matrix, maybe you have to draw the ROC, maybe you have to come up with recall, maybe you have to come up with precision, maybe you have to come up with sensitivity. You have to come up with all things. Okay. Now when it comes to the optimization, how will you optimize your model? You need to see that optimization through grid search CV, random forest, random search, or maybe multiple things. Maybe you wanted to use XGBoost, maybe you wanted to use some other model. Okay. So these are the things which I have taught you and you have to perform now. So ultimately our story is to connect those dots. Okay, that's it, which I have taught you guys. And here we go. I'm going to end this second session, and I'm happy, means I'm able to cover this on or before timing, you can say, like. Okay, now I'm here to help you guys. If you have please any question. So yeah, means somebody has asked what is a good book for programming. So here I have mentioned programming in Python. Like here you can see here multiple books are there. But yeah, now guys, I'm open to take questions because I am on time to finish this entire means you can say like case study as well as this presentation for the second day. So now I'm happy to take. So tomorrow what we are going to cover? We are going to cover big data in the very first session. We are going to cover big data and we will see the big data case study. One case study which I'm going to show you because the one which I have patented, I have done some patent work in there. So I may show you that part. And then in one session that is going to be, and then in another session we will quickly go through the cloud computing and what all the cloud aspects, how the assignment is being done in cloud computing. So this is how we are doing. Okay, now guys, please what I'm asking is please ask your question if you have. How we decide model development type? It may be regression. So Jyoti, as I said, like if the means like it's a labeled data or unlabeled data, if it is a labeled data, then you have to go with your normal supervised approach. And in supervised approach, if you will see like which type of variable it is a category, it is a numerical. If it is a having numerical kind of thing, then you have to go with regression. If you will see there is a category or maybe there is segmentation kind of thing, then you have to go with classification. And then if you will see like there is no pattern which you are able to see, you need to derive some pattern, then you have to go for cluster. This is how you need to perform your activity. Anyway guys, I'm open for a question. Please keep on asking your question because we are good with our session and still we have some time left. So I wanted to take questions. So me and Rajesh is available to take questions. Please go on with the questions. If you are shy in coming up front, please write those questions in a Zoom chat bot. Sorry, in group chat. Guys, what happened? Like you guys are listening, I am just talking. So at least you guys have
I
must
think
have.
no one is ready to ask anything.
Yeah. So if nobody is literally gonna ask anything, then one thing, please, means whatever we taught means like it takes a lot of effort, I must say, and literally means for giving you 2 3 sessions or maybe 5 sessions, it takes almost 10 days for us, or maybe for 5 days for us to prepare for you guys. And before that we need to do coding, we need to prepare case study based on your comfort level as well. So please don't worry, means like if you have some question, please feel free to ask me whenever required. Please let me know. My mail id is there, my mobile number is there, you can get my mobile. If you wanted to do any project in that same data science field, or maybe in big data type of work, please let me know. We are always open to work with you guys. Okay, I do have so many publications, I must say, and patent as well. So please, if you have any difficulty on any sort of problem, or maybe you're not able to define your problem statement, maybe your student is not able to work on some any problem, please let us know. uh, means means whatever possible, however possible, we will be in touch with your student, we will be in touch with you, and we will try to solve those problems, okay, however it is possible. So don't worry. So I know like one of the lady has asked like means like she's not good in Python. So I must say like it will take some time for you guys, because Python and Python in data science, it's a quite complete another session, you can say. It's another kind of a story which I need to, and that is special for students, because faculty are means they are very good in problem defining and maybe giving some problem statement, and they are come up with research paper, and those are things are different. But for students, Python session and workshop in Python, that is a different thing. So it will take for another 4 5 session for me to give a walkthrough for Python, entire Python. So yeah, people are asking my mail ID. So Praveen has. So here is my mail ID. Please let me know whenever possible. Contact number you want to take, please let me give you my contact number. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like whenever you want anything for your student, for your even project, or maybe for your even problem statement, please let us know. We are feel free to work with that, because even right now me and Rajesh are working with multiple projects even in various colleges, or you can say in means like with couple of faculties. So it happens like if we do not have any work, or maybe you can say like if we do not have, means we do have it some time, then only we can work. If sometimes also it like because of office pressure and all, we quite busy, means we cannot able to concentrate on both multiple things, you can say. But yeah, but we are always trying to do some sort of work. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, for tomorrow guys, please be ready for it. Means anyway, means like tomorrow the good topic is going to be happen, like because big data I'm going to cover. And then we have another thing which we will cover is like what is that, cloud computing. So Rajesh, can you talk about a bit more cloud computing, how exactly it is you are starting with that?
Yeah. Let's say that we are going to talk about a data center which we have in our college, or in our university, or in our industry. Then we can think about it that we need to have the resources, and the resources are generally of three types. One is the compute resources, one is the storage resources, and one is the network resources. and we are going to have this all on the cloud. So instead of building our own data center, like we are going to have it in the cloud, we are going to tell you about the important clouds that are there in the world today and how people are using them, and what is the good part about the cloud. uh, that particular part is what we are telling you tomorrow, and once we have that, we are going to have the particular computation of a data science issue or any other issue. We are going to have the computation done, and once we have the computation done, then we can have the result. And once we have the result, then it is as good as uh, like the data center that we are having in our own university or in our own industry, for example. And having a cloud is much cheaper because we only pay for the OPEX, that is the operational expenses, and we do not pay for the capital expenses, that is the machines or the storage devices or any of the networks that we may plan to use. So we'll talk all this regarding the cloud, and we'll tell you the different type of clouds, and we'll also tell you the different type of uh, clouds that people build and what they would like to keep it in the public cloud and what they would like to keep it with them in the private cloud. So all these things is what we'll tell you. And please note one thing, that any type of problem that is there, whether that's a data science problem or whether that's any other problem, then we can use the cloud and we can do a competition, and we can only pay for the competition that we have done, and we don't need to buy a whole lot. In fact, don't need to buy anything. That means the capex expenditure is literally zero, and the opex expense is only there. That means whatever we have operated upon. So it's a very good model for doing a competition as well as storing our resources. So I want you to hear that. And the good part is that any type of competition can easily be done on the cloud. So with this, I'd like to welcome you to the last day of the competition, and any questions that you may have on data science now is what is most welcome. And Praveen and myself are there to answer those, and we'll be happy to take those and answer it.
So tomorrow we are going to go for big data and as well as cloud in detail, and we will see like what project we can show you guys. Okay. Yeah, that's all from our end. Dinesh sir, over to you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. And Basmati ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for facilitating us with the much needed information related to machine learning. We would also like to appreciate your patience in answering the queries of the participants and your suggestions for them as well. We also thank the participants for all your support, and we look forward to meeting you in the virtual summit tomorrow at 10 a.m. Good day. Thank you.
Thank you.